Welcome back to the Big Lab podcast. In this episode, as you can see, it is a solo one, but I've done something slightly different. It's kind of like a Q&A, but I was listening to Chris Williamson the other day, and it got me thinking, obviously, he's very good at asking questions. Unfortunately, at the moment, the podcast isn't quite big enough to get Chris Williamson on as a guest, so I turned to ChatGPT. I decided to ask ChatGPT to ask me questions in the style of Chris Williamson. Big fan of the podcast, one of the only ones I really consistently listen to. So I thought, try and get some thought-provoking questions and see what it came up with. So I actually asked for quite a lot of questions out of it, and I have then picked, I think, 10 or 11 of the ones that I thought were pretty good. And yeah, so we'll see how it goes. But I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you get something from it. So we'll start off with the first one. Can the act of visualizing success and setting intentions truly influence our outcomes? What evidence or experiences support this belief? So I guess this kind of links in with the whole manifestation thing, which, yes, I think you need to sort of visualize your goals and hitting the goals and being successful. But for me, that's as far as manifestation goes. You have to put the work in at the end of the day. There is nothing that you are going to be able to achieve without putting work in. You can't just sit there, dream about it, think about being successful, because that's not going to make you successful at the end of the day. Yes, you've got to have the visions, but you've got to put the work in to achieve those goals. And this is what kind of annoys me a little bit on like Instagram, social media. A lot of people go on about manifestation, but then they never go on about how to put the work in, how to reach those goals. It's all about thinking about it and visualizing it, which means absolutely nothing when it comes to actually achieving a goal. Next one. As we grow older, what societal pressures become more pronounced, and how can we manage them to maintain a sense of fulfillment? For me, the societal pressures are the sort of main three. The pressure to be moved out by a certain age, then the pressure to get married by a certain age, and then the final one to have kids, which are, yes, all major milestones in your life. But they're also milestones that you can do on your own terms. You don't have to have any of them done by a certain age. I remember back in college, I had this belief that I was going to be moved out by 21, and it took me until I was 27 to move out. It's expensive at the end of the day. And at the time, well, at 21, I would have just came off of my apprenticeship, which was nowhere near enough money to then go and buy a house. So being realistic with these milestones, there's no need to get them done by a certain age. There's no need for a set date. Obviously, putting a date out there to maybe aim for that, target it. Yeah, maybe. But the main one for me is moving out. So I think you need that space away from your sort of family home, away from your parents, just to be able to grow and mature and become an adult in a sense. I think that's probably the main one that needs a little sort of assistance or a little bit of desire to go and do and achieve. But then once you've got that, then getting married and having kids can just be done on your own and your partner's terms. So obviously with having kids, there's a biological clock on the women's side. So there is kind of a little bit of a time pressure there, but it's also probably a little bit more time than you think, unless you are sort of single and then you're maybe 35, then yeah, maybe there's a bit more pressure. If you want kids, then things may have to happen quickly. If you're a woman, with a guy, I guess you could go and find a younger woman, if that is something that you're not quite ready for, but you know you want in the future. You probably couldn't go and find another 35-year-old woman and then expect to have kids in maybe 5 years' time. There's the risks of it, and there's the chance that they just may not be able to have kids at 40. But yeah, unless you wanted to pop out sort of 7 kids and you're 28 years of age, then maybe you want to get moving, literally. But yeah, I don't think there has to be any pressure on any of those three other than the sort of reasons that I've just said. In today's world, how should we define success? Is it based on traditional metrics, or should we consider more personal and holistic measures? For me, I think success should be defined personally. There's no sort of arbitrary measure of success for me. Yeah, most people look towards money and net worth, and that's what you see maybe in Forbes. So-and-so, Elon Musk is worth however many $1 billion. Same with Bezos. They're outliers. So the average person, I think you need to define success personally, because something that you class as success may not to others, and vice versa. So for some people, getting to the gym 3 days a week might be a successful week, but to a gym rat like myself, that's just a standard week and it's not that impressive. I've been doing it for pretty much 13 years now, so me getting 3 gym sessions in a week isn't successful to me. It's just habit at this point. Whereas to someone that's just starting to get into the gym, or maybe had anxiety about going to the gym, 3 times in 1 week could be a major thing. Then again, for some people, making £100 in a day is huge, but to others, that could be an hourly rate. Success is all subjective and relative to the individual. Too many people are obviously comparing themselves to others, and as we know, comparison is the thief of joy. So sit down, define what success looks like to you, set goals around them, and then break them down into smaller, manageable chunks and sort of tick them off one by one. And don't let anyone else sort of talk you down from what you define as successful. Like I say, going to the gym 3 times in a week could be your successful week. Don't let anyone tell you that it's not successful, because, like I say, you may have been struggling in the past. Yeah, for me, success should definitely be defined personally, and to stop comparing to other people. Next one. So what is a belief you once held strongly but have now completely changed your mind about? I guess this one could be, for quite a lot of people, just that if you put the work in, that things will happen, which, yes, in a sense is true, but it's not guaranteed. It has to be the right work towards a specific goal. And I think too many people say they're working hard and not getting anywhere, and it's because they're focusing on the wrong things and wasting time. My advice would be to sit down, sort of write a diary of your week, what you've done, literally the whole week in your life, and then look at the tasks that you're doing and ask yourself whether they're actually pointing you in the right direction, whether they're getting you closer to a goal, or if they're not, it's not a waste of time necessarily, because obviously there are things that we want to do, that things that we have to do on a day-to-day basis that aren't going to get you to a goal, like literally like cooking your dinner, brushing your teeth, all the rest of it. There's stuff that we just have to do that whether we like it or not, we've got to do. But if they are things that you are doing as part of what you're moving towards, but it's not getting you in the right direction towards the goals, then stop doing them. Or can you get someone else to do them to free you up to go and do something that's more productive to that end goal? But yeah, I think there's a lot of people out there that say they're busy and they're actually just working towards the wrong things. Why do most people struggle to make lasting changes in their lives? And what's the real key to self-improvement? For me, this one is probably driven by a lot of social media, but it is people trying to make too drastic of a change in their lives, and then it just doesn't happen long term. So they think they need to change their whole life. They try and change, mainly the morning routine's a big one. So instead of just rolling out of bed, getting a shower and going to work, they then try and add on the fact that they've got to go and do a cold plunge, a walk, meditate, have the greens, have all the vitamins, this, that and the other. And they add this massive checklist of stuff that they've got to get done on top of what they used to do. And it's just too unrealistic of a change in such a small space of time. The book Atomic Habits is all about stacking small habits on top of each other. So instead of trying to make a complete life change, make small changes and stack those habits on top of each other as you go. So once you've implemented maybe one habit, once that's there for maybe a week or 2 weeks and you've kept to it, then add the next thing on top. Don't be trying to add 10 things at once, because it's quite quickly going to fail and you'll just revert back to old habits and you'll think, oh, there's no point in trying. And then you're back at sort of the start. So it needs to be something that you can maintain without too much pressure, and it needs to be something that you enjoy, because if you enjoy it, it's going to make it so much easier to stick to, instead of like people doing a cold plunge just because some fella said on the internet that you should. But yeah, it needs to be something. I keep going back to goals and stuff like that. It doesn't always have to be goal orientated, but if it's something that's going to help you towards something and bettering you towards maybe a goal, then again, that's going to help you, because you're going to see those tangible results of getting closer to something. And there's obviously so many things that could be towards. But if it's actually something that's benefiting you and it's working towards something and helping you towards another goal, then that is also going to help you massively. So the next one, this was actually 2 separate questions, but I've kind of put them in one answer. So what's one common habit or mindset that quietly ruins people's potential? And then the second part of that is, what's the most underrated skill someone can develop in today's world? So there's kind of two parts to this. So for me, the common habit or mindset that is quietly ruining people's potential is confidence or lack of confidence. And obviously that also links into the most underrated skill that someone can develop. Confidence is massive. And being confident in yourself and not worrying about what other people think. I feel like so many people are held back by what others may think of them. And quite often they don't think about them. It's this fear in our own mind that is created that we think others are going to be thinking of us. So if there's something you want to do, just go and do it. Even if people do think the things that you think they're going to think, who cares? Life's too short to not do the things that you want to do. There's so many ideas and dreams that will never reach the light of day just because people are too worried about what people are going to think of them for pursuing that dream. Like for me, I started my fitness account back in 2018. Before it was really a thing, I got a load of stick off my mates mainly. And now most people have a gym fitness account to keep them accountable. Just because I was doing it maybe 5 years before other people were, doesn't mean it's the wrong thing to be doing. And quite a lot of them quickly shut up when I started working with brands like MyProtein. The same happened when I had a podcast. People were like, why have you got a podcast? The original reason I started the podcast was because back in, I think it was 2020, so obviously before all lockdowns, I had plans to really push my YouTube channel, meet up with people that I'd met through my fitness Instagram account, go and do workouts, see how people worked out, chat, vlog, things like that. But then obviously lockdown stopped all that. So I thought, how can I still connect with these people remotely? And again, podcasts weren't really that big of a thing. Like I was doing it in, when was it, 2021, the podcast started. So it was sort of taking off, like people were starting podcasts, but it was not that popular of a thing, really. If you think about it, I think Chris Williamson's podcast started in like 2018, 2019, and you probably never even heard of it until a couple of years ago. So, yeah, just because you're doing something that others aren't doing doesn't mean it's the wrong thing. If you want to do it and you enjoy it, just go and do it. So have that confidence in yourself, because I actually started my first fitness account back in college in 2013, which was actually way before really anyone was doing it. I think, when was Instagram started? Maybe like, when did it start taking off? Maybe 2011, 2012. So this, again, it wasn't really a thing, but I quickly deleted that account because I was too bothered about what other people thought. And fitness was a passion, still is a passion. And it always makes me wonder what could have been. Like, could I have been one of those sort of OG fitness influencers with all the people that you've probably heard of? Maybe, maybe not, who knows? But I let other people's opinions dictate what my actions were doing. So yeah, people will say it's cringe before it works. And then quite quickly, you'll find people supporting you that used to take the mick out of you. And I think in these days, in this generation, it is so easy to be average. But at the same time, if you put in a little bit of work, it is so easy to be successful too. So yeah, the main takeaway from that is be confident in yourself. Don't let other people's opinions stop you from doing what you want to do. It is as simple as that, because you never know what could come of it. Next one. So, if you had to live the same day on repeat for the rest of your life, what would that day look like? This is probably going to be very, very simple, and you're probably thinking, why are you not doing this already? Which was my question when I was sort of jotting down some notes around the answer. Obviously, there's things that get in the way, like work, unfortunately. But it's a very simple day, to be quite honest. Wake up, go for a walk, somewhere preferably in nature. Get away from the busy roads, put my phone on Do Not Disturb, no distractions whatsoever. And then either put sort of an interesting podcast on or just nothing at all and take in the surroundings. Quite often I do go for walks without any headphones whatsoever. I do just like no distractions, because I think, like, for my day job, I'm sat at my desk all day, I'm on calls, maybe listening to music throughout the day. There's a lot of noise throughout your day, and I think going for a walk without headphones on is just so clearing for your mind, really. Just let everything just go mute. essentially, and just listen to everything around you through going out in nature. Hear like the trees blowing in the wind, hear the birds chirping, things like that. I think we need that sometimes just to get away from the distractions of day-to-day life. And then once I've been for my walk, I would get home, have some breakfast, film a podcast, because I really enjoy filming podcasts, even if it's solo, just staring down the barrel of a camera. Quite a lot of people ask me how I do it because they've tried to do things themselves. And yes, it is difficult. It takes practice. I'm 58 episodes deep, I think, now. Quite a few of them are now solo episodes. So I've got the hours, I've put the work in, essentially. And obviously I've done vlogging. I've done it all, really, in terms of influencer stuff. I remember I used to go to a Pure Gym and I could sit outside in my car trying to film a story on my phone, and sometimes it would take maybe 5 takes. Like, I would stutter, I would forget what I was saying, someone might park up next to me, put me off, I'm embarrassed, quickly put my phone down, nothing's happening, and then have to start all over again. So I've had the time of practicing. It is just doing the reps. Yeah, like I was saying, film a podcast, have some hopefully interesting conversations with guests. If not, solo episodes like this one. Have some lunch, get to the gym, get a workout in, lift some weights, get some cardio in. Always good to get your cardio in. I always do mine after weights because the last thing I want to be doing is being stupidly sweaty going on all the machines. There is nothing more annoying than getting to a machine and it's just full of the last person's sweat. At least wipe it down, please. Then I would go for a little swim, a little dip in the pool, and sort of alternate between the sauna and the pool, really. I really enjoy just sitting in a sauna. I don't know what it is. Being slightly uncomfortable, obviously very sweaty. But yeah, I would alternate, probably doing maybe 2 or 3 rounds of sort of 15, 20 minutes in the sauna, cool down in a shower, and then dip in the pool. And then go socialise with friends and family. I think it's obviously very important to have a social life and have those connections with family and friends. Then go home, cook a nice meal, and then just chill out. I could quite easily do that life every single day, I think, with ease. It's nothing weird, nothing wonderful. And like I said, you're probably thinking, why couldn't I do that pretty much on a daily basis? Which is a very good question. Maybe I need to have a look, a little sit down, and get that routine more locked down into my day-to-day life. Quite a lot of it is very easily achievable. Next one. If you could implant one idea into the mind of everyone on the planet, what would it be and why? I would say, getting a bit deep, life is a lot shorter and delicate than you may think. And that not a moment should be wasted doing things that you don't want to do, and to do the things that make you happy and not care about what other people think. Like I say, very deep, but I think it's very true at the same time. Life can be taken away in an instant, quite easily. As strong as the human body is, this is what always baffles me. As strong and resilient as the human body is, it is also so fragile at the same time, and it baffles me. Like, you can see people, I remember seeing one of those like amazing facts things, and it was the highest height someone's fell and survived, and it was like someone fell out of an airplane and somehow survived. But then you could also literally trip off a curb and die because you've hit your head in the wrong way. Like, how can we be that strong but also that weak at the same time? Yeah, it's baffling. But like, going back to the previous question about just doing things that make you happy and not caring what other people think. Life's too short to have what ifs and regrets on your deathbed. So go out there and make every day count. Next one. So, what's the one question you've been avoiding asking yourself, and why do you think that is? So, this isn't necessarily one that I've been avoiding. It's one that I've been thinking about quite often recently, and it's asking myself, are you truly happy in what you're doing, and what do you want your life to look like in the future? Because I'm not a kid anymore. I'm coming up to 29 next month. It's almost 13 years since I left high school. And in October, it'll be 11 years since I left college and started working. So it is crazy how quickly that time's gone. And I keep seeing these trends on like Instagram and TikTok saying when your age is getting serious, but your lifestyle isn't. And now friends around me are slowly starting to have kids, getting engaged and married. And I don't necessarily really feel ready for either of them. And I don't know when I will be, but I guess I'll just have to wait and see. I do want kids in the future. I just really do not know when. Like, I really look forward to being a dad one day. But yeah, seeing a couple of friends going through it at the moment, I don't think I'm ready. To be fair, I don't think they were either. It is what it is. In terms of career, not really sure what direction I want that going in. I am moving jobs next month, so that'll be a nice change. Been in the job that I'm in at the moment for, it'll be 3 years in June, so just under 3 years basically. So a nice change, different business, same company, different business, but the company that I work for is huge, so there's plenty of opportunities to sort of test out different careers, and they're very accommodating with that, luckily, too. But I was actually asked recently where I see my career going. I had to do like a presentation to get some qualifications signed off, and I basically said that I'm not too sure. I've always sort of thought climb the ladder as high as my abilities will take me and see where that gets me. I don't know where that ceiling is, but I know I'm not at it at the moment. But more recently, I've also been thinking it's getting the most amount of money for the least responsibility, because at the end of the day, you are just another employee, another number on their payroll. So yeah, trying to get the most amount of money for the least responsibility. And this may not be my full potential. I may get to a point and go, I am happy at this level. It's not where I could be, but it gets to a point for me where the extra responsibility does not match the pay rise. So what I'm trying to get at is I want to maintain a good work-life balance, which I feel like I've always done. I've always had sort of hobbies outside of work, and I've never really let work get in the way of those, because once I'm done for the day, I do not think about work until the next day. I am really good at switching off, whereas I know people like my previous manager, every now and again I get an email from him at Sunday at midnight because he's woke up in the middle of the night and thought, oh, I need to message this. That has never once been me. And that might not be what some employers want to hear, but at the same time, I'm not getting paid at midnight on a Sunday, so I am not working. And then that also links in, the main thing is, when I eventually do have kids, I don't want to be that dad that's never present. I don't want to be the one that's missing out on their kids growing up. And I don't want to be taking work calls and personal time, as that's way more valuable to me than working for an extra few grand. So that has been the main thing. Like, I'm not saying like I'm necessarily unhappy in my work, but sort of life in the future would need to be balanced as a minimum, whether I'm necessarily really enjoying what I'm doing or not. Having that work-life balance will be major in the next couple of years, and I need to get myself to a point where I'm happy with the wage that I'm on, but also happy with the amount of responsibility and the chance that that doesn't affect my work-life balance. Yeah, very big, deep sort of thoughts at the moment. I'm just thinking about what I want life to look like in the future. What's one mistake you see people making over and over again, and why do you think that happens? For me, it's doing the same thing and expecting different results. In order to get different results, and something has to change. You can't keep doing the same thing and expect something different to happen. Like 2 + 2 is always going to equal 4. So if you keep doing the same actions, why would you expect a different result? And this, again, this can go into work, it can go into relationships, it can go into health and fitness. So if you're in the pursuit of weight loss, for instance, you're wanting to lose weight, you eat well throughout the week, but then every Friday as a treat, you get a takeaway, which just blows out the progress for the week. Then you clearly need to stop having the takeaway on a Friday, because it's ruining all that hard work you put in throughout the week. And like I say, it's the same in work and relationships. It'd be like complaining about not being able to get a boyfriend or a girlfriend, but then not putting yourself out there in person, or being on dating sites and messaging and replying. If you're sat there doing nothing, why would you expect someone to just turn up and ask you on a date, for instance? So yeah, if you're wanting to see a different result, then something has to change. Final question. So, what's something people misunderstand about you, and does it bother you? This doesn't necessarily bother me, but it's something that has been said to me quite a few times by friends or people that I know through Instagram, and it's the fact that I've got everything figured out, which I definitely don't. Like, I don't know what it is that I portray across social media or even to my friends, but I definitely don't have it all figured out. And yeah, people have said it's because I've got like a decent job, car, house, that I've got all my ducks in a row. And yeah, you have to have some sort of order to get that, but it doesn't mean you've definitely got it figured out at all. And I have this sort of, going back to the previous, not the last one, the one before that, about whether I'm truly happy and stuff like that. I almost have this sort of anxiety that I'm not enough or not reaching that full potential that I've potentially got, and that I could be doing more and could be more, etc. And like I say, I put this pressure on myself because I know I've got high potential, and that's not me being big-headed or anything like that. I'm just self-aware that I can be doing more. Like I said, at work, I've not reached my sort of potential. I could climb the ladder over time, basically. Obviously need to get that experience, but it's not something that is going to stop me back in the short term, at least. Yeah, maybe I can't end up becoming like CEO or whatever, but I'm definitely not at my ceiling work-wise. So yeah, just because someone looks like they've got it all figured out doesn't necessarily mean it. And I've noticed this in the corporate world, to be honest. I've been in it for like 10.5 years now. People at the top, you may think they've got it all figured out, but quite a lot of them are just winging it day to day. Like, I know some awful managers, people that are in senior positions, and you think, how the hell did you even get there in the first place? Did they just have the gift of the gab in an interview? Because you've been in this role now, and I'm like, how is someone paying you what they're paying you? And yeah, they don't end up lasting too long in some instances. But yeah, just because, well, I guess it's don't judge a book by its cover. That is as simple as that. Just because someone's got maybe nice things, then yeah, it doesn't mean everything is figured out in their life. Quite often, there's things going on behind the scenes with some people that you may never even know about. And I'm not saying that that's me. I'm fine. There's not like a train wreck behind the scenes, but in some people's instances, there is, and you may hear about them, you may not. But yeah, I wouldn't put too much pressure on yourself if you think someone's got it all figured out, because most of the time they don't, and we're all winging it at the end of the day. So yeah, that's something that I've learned whilst being in the corporate world. So many people are winging it. But that gets me to the end of the Chris Williamson ChatGPT Q&A. One that I really enjoyed. It got me thinking quite a lot, actually. I wrote quite a lot of notes for this one. I like being prepared for my episodes. But yeah, these got me really, really thinking. Some pretty deep questions, so I hope you've got something from it. If you did and you enjoyed it, please don't forget to drop it a like or a review, because it really helps push the episodes to other people that may enjoy this podcast. And this year is all about growing the podcast, staying consistent. My aim is to hit episode 100 by the end of the year, which is essentially an episode a week. So we're doing pretty well so far. We've uploaded, I think this will be the 5th or the 6th one of the year so far. So I'm pretty happy. We've got 3 in the pipeline for next week. Gonna keep adding people in. Stay tuned. Drop a review. If you've not already, subscribe. Like I say, there's going to be one a week. So thank you very much for listening, and I'll catch you in the next one.